On today's show, the 76ers will not win that many games this season. The Golden State Warriors absolutely will. We'll tell you why on today's Locked On NBA. Let's go.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome. You are Locked On to the NBA. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On NBA your first listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day on any podcast platform. Take us with you wherever you go. Leave a 5-star review, like the video on YouTube, and comment anything below. Shout out to all of you that comment best duo on Locked On NBA. Just makes me feel a little good.
Appreciate that.
Right in the emotional center.
Yeah. They like
right in the inside out control panel, you know, like right there. Feels good. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And joining me, as always, on a Thursday, host of Locked On Bulls. What you got for me, Pat the Designer?
Ooh, TNT and Amazon on Prime. The battle of the basketball Aunt Vivs. I'm proud of you for getting that. I'm very proud of you for getting that.
And Viv, you look different. I just had Oh, man. We'll talk about the drama between TNT and the NBA. We'll definitely do it in our segment, Count It Up, where we count all the most interesting, fun things in the NBA. We'll get into that for sure. But we'll start with this. The over-unders for win totals from the NBA came out on FanDuel. So go check it out. Go to FanDuel and see all the over-unders for, which teams could win, over under 52.5 games, for example. And we're going to pick teams that we think are too high and pick teams that we think are too low. Starting with the Philadelphia 76ers, 52.5. This was your first one, Pat. You think this is too high for the Philadelphia 76ers. They'll go under 52.5, even after adding Paul George.
Yeah. You want to know why?
I do.
We're relying on two players who are phenomenal players to be something that they rarely are not: healthy. Joel Embiid and Paul George.
Something that they rarely are not. It was a wild.
Joel Embiid and Paul George being the focal point of that team, which, listen, solid team I would say, and my definition of healthy is you in the regular season more than 65 games. Right.
Paul George, 74 last year.
That's great. But let's take the career sample size. And I don't believe with Paul George, it's just that the Clippers were holding him out. I think there were a lot of times where we saw Paul George dealing with that injury. The other problem is you also have to have it where they're not one or the other missing. And that's very tough in the modern league, right? Think about the Clippers. When Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and James Harden and Russell Westbrook and all these pieces and all these names are all on the floor at the same time, you look at the Clippers and go, championship contenders, book it, ladies and gentlemen. The problem is you got Kawhi Leonard out, but Paul George is in. Russell Westbrook not playing tonight. James Harden's good to go. Now Russ is back. James Harden's not out there. Kawhi Leonard's back. Paul George is sitting out. This is the same situation that I believe you're about to see with the Philadelphia 76ers. Maybe not for a ton of stretches, but we've seen when the playoffs get going, Joel Embiid has not been a player who can consistently stay healthy. You can't tell me that you believe that Tyrese Maxey and Paul George are the answer to get you over 54 wins during the regular season. I just think that that's a tough ask for this team, and especially when you lose Tobias Harris, you lose a little bit of that depth. You do get Andre Drummond back, which nice piece off the bench, but I think that that's going to be tough to expect that level of health from this team. And it's not a talent issue for them. It's more of a, are they going to be on the court together issue for me.
I thought that it was wild you picked the Philadelphia 76ers as too high. 52.5. To me, last year, they win 47 games, right? Embiid only plays 39 games total in the season. They go from Tobias Harris to Paul George. Even if Joel Embiid plays 39 games again, missing over half the season, which you're kind of banking in right there. Just going from Tobias Harris to Paul George should at least get you 5 more wins.
How many games did Tobias Harris play last season?
Less than Paul George. He played 70. Paul George played 74 last year.
Paul George played 74.
Yes.
Over his career, though, Tobias Harris has been the much more consistently healthy player, especially his time with the 76ers. Paul George has not been consistently healthy, and I think that's my thing. While I agree with you, yes, with Paul George on the floor, I do think that there is a difference there. But the problem is, how many games are you going to get all three of them together? With all three of them together, they're one of the best teams I'm in football mode. I almost said in the NFC. They're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference.
That wing room, the guard room is wild over there.
One of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. There's no doubt about it. But I just can't trust what I haven't consistently seen. Yes, we saw it from Paul George last season. Will we see it from Paul George another year older, a year where he still dealt with some injuries, but was able to play through them more, and a year coming off of Joel Embiid where he just wasn't out there?
This team will be good enough to go over 52 to me, unless Embiid misses a ton of games, unless Paul George misses a ton of games, like you say. But I think when they play, they'll be that good. I think Joel Embiid, he said it himself, he could have been the GOAT if he was healthy, right? Like I think hopefully we see a healthy Embiid.
There's a lot of players that could say that I could have been the GOAT if I was healthy. Listen, I mean, freaking T-Mac's one of the greatest players I've ever seen in my life, and he couldn't stay healthy enough to get out of the first round until he was with the Spurs. You know what I mean? Like, I understand.
The Spurs run is. Oof.
I mean, listen, I understand the sentiment of it, but
you're also getting 23-year-old Tyrese Maxey taking a step forward. I think if we keep seeing his growth the same way, then all of a sudden you got 3 All-NBA type players on that team. And to me, I think they'll go over it just because of that upgrade in talent to Paul George. I believe in it.
We'll see.
Mine.
Okay, it's yours.
Well, we both picked one that was too high, and this is now my turn.
Aggressive mine, though. It was like you were like a toddler. You were like Aria, my daughter upstairs. It's like, whose boy is that? Mine. Okay, all right, it's yours. You got it.
I learned from the Seagulls from Finding Nemo. That's what. Mine. The San Antonio Spurs, 36.5 win total. So if you want to pick the over, they got to win 37, 38, 39 games. You want to go to the under, 35, 34 games. They won 19 games last season.
Chris Paul?
They get Chris Paul. A 17-18 win improvement is huge, massive.
Yeah.
Wemby, and you want to say, well, they held out Wemby last year from a bunch of games. He didn't play enough and all that. Wemby played 71 games last year.
Yeah.
It's not like he missed. It's not like it was Joel Embiid last year for him. When he did play, they played a 22 win pace. So only 3 more than they actually had in the season. They also won 22 wins the season before that. So it's not like they got marketably better when he was there, win total wise. They do add Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes, and Castle in the draft. They kind of lose, or maybe lose, Chetty Osman, Doug McDermott. That not inconsequential.
Yeah.
If you're trying to convince me that Wembanyama takes that big of a leap forward, what Luka did his first year, they won 33 games his first year. They went to 46 the second year, but they added Porzingis. I just don't think that Wemby can take that big of a step forward. He was already very good. We were already talking about him as Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think he can take that big of a step forward. I don't think Chris Paul is that big of an addition that we're talking about 18 more wins next season. So to me, I'm taking the under on the Spurs.
I think the difference here and why I do think that there is a ability for him to go out there and take that big of a step is not because we're going to see a vastly different player. I think that it's more so you're going to see a player who, remember, in the beginning of the season, there was this just terror that Wemby was going to just get destroyed out there. And there was this weird stretch where I want to say maybe 24, 25 games. It was right after the, was it the Dallas game? Was the Dallas game early? One of the games where he got
was the first one of the year.
Is that the one where he stepped on the guy, or was that the second? There was one where he stepped on.
There was one in Dallas where he stepped on the guy. That was later in the season.
After that, the minutes per game took a drastic dip. He was playing 31 minutes a game. You went to 22, 24, 25. It took him a while to just get back to 30 minutes per game. I think that will be something that you won't see this season. And because of that, you will see not him take this drastic step of like, I'm so much of a better player, but just, hey, I'm a really good player and I'm not leaving the court. You have to deal with me for 32 to 34 minutes a game.
I thought you were going to talk about the terror the Spurs endured was having Jeremy Sohan play point guard. I thought that's where you're going to go.
That is also agreeable.
Now, listen, that if you were going to bring up that point, I would have conceded to you, because going from Jeremy Sohan to start the year to then Chris Paul, and do we think that they were really trying to win at the end of the season? Like you said, Wemby not playing a bunch of games, getting held out of games. That game that you mentioned where he stepped on the guy's foot, I was standing very close to him, and as soon as he stepped on that guy's foot, they took him out and they held him out for a while. I mean, they were very careful, and I think they learned from that. So there is a case where they do take that step forward. I just don't think Chris Paul, at however old he is right now, does Chris Paul know what Brat Summer is? Does he know that, right? Like, I don't think he's in the demographic anymore to understand.
Well, I think we also only think of Chris Paul is helping Victor Wembanyama. For me, I look at, okay, how does he improve Devin Vassell's game, who has been a solid player on that team, but really hasn't taken that next step? How does he improve?
If he does,
how does he improve some of those guys on the team who have been the other guy where it's like, that's a nice piece? And I think the other thing too is, how does he improve the hierarchy of that team? Because you know who he's going to pass to? Victor Wembanyama. You know who's going to be taking final shots?
You really
Victor
hope so.
Wembanyama. You know what I mean? Like, last year, we're sitting there halfway through the season like, why aren't they letting Wemby shoot the basketball? Like,
what's jealous? You know who's jealous?
Caitlin Clark, like, bro.
You know who's jealous of Adele?
Victor Wembanyama. Nah, Jeremy Sohan.
Sohan.
That's what I call it.
Coming up, we got two teams that their over-under is too low. These teams are definitely going to beat this over-under, and we'll tell you why coming up. Count it up. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply on that. Go to Game Time. They have all kinds of great stuff. I love using it. I used it the other day. I'm going to go to Cincinnati Reds games with my family when I go visit them. It's going to be a blast. And with Game Time, the tickets were, let me tell you, I know it's the Reds, but like, those tickets were pretty cheap. Right now, you can go to Chicago White Sox and Texas Rangers. That's the Nick and Pat Bowl right there. We can go see that game. 19 bucks.
Don't go. Reconsider. Read some litter.
Okay, you can go see Janet Jackson in Dickies Arena in Fort Worth. $23 to go see Janet.
Listen, Janet Jackson and Dickies. Here we go. You know what I'm saying?
I'm about to mute Pat. Go check out Game Time. See what's available for you. Check it all out. They have the all-in pricing as well. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use that code LOCKEDONNBA. LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply on Game Time. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA, being part of the show, being an everydayer, listening every day. We have a daily show that covers your team. Check the link in the description to find that show. The Locked On Bulls, the Locked On Mavs, the Locked On Lakers, the Locked On Warriors.
I know.
Who we'll talk about. That covers your team every day. All right, Pat, we're doing over-unders on win totals from FanDuel. Our friends over at FanDuel, drop the list. It's all over there. Go see which ones. Comment in the YouTube's comment section which one you think is too high and which one's too low. The Golden State Warriors, to me, 43.5, respectfully, is too low. I know they lose Klay Thompson. I know they lose Chris Paul. And I do have a theme between my two teams. I do not think Chris Paul moves the needle as much as the Vegas seems to think that he's going to move the needle. Because they lose Klay Thompson, Chris Paul, Dario Saric. They bring in DeAnthony Melton, Kyle Anderson, Buddy Hield. Okay. They also only got 55 games of Draymond last year. They were 33-22 in those games. That's a 49 win pace. The last 40 games of the year, they really figured out what their team was. They had Draymond back. They got some other guys back from injury. They figured out what their team was. They went on a 53-win pace, 26-14 the last 40 games of the season when Draymond played. Very different team when they had him. And so to me, to say that it's 43, to say, all right, they were a 46-win team last year. They're going to lose 3 more games this next year when Draymond only played 55. To me, I think it's just an overcorrection too much. Like, if it was just 46, I would be fine with it. Like, all right, they'll be the same as last year. Okay, fine. But I don't think that they lost that much. I know I'm supposed to be I'm supposed to say that Klay Thompson was such a big impact and all that for the Mavs side of things. But I think he'll be a better fit than where he was in Golden State last year.
To me, I do agree with you. This is a little bit low for me just because it's almost discounting how good Stephen Curry is. It's almost discounting how much he can impact the court by himself. We've seen a Stephen Curry led team go a very, very long way without a ton of those other pieces. Now, you did have Draymond there. If you get more games from Draymond, do you get better play out of Stephen Curry? You're also adding in a guy like Buddy Hield, who's kind of struggled to find his place in the league. Can he get a little bit more consistent on that team, knocking down that three ball, if you have a guy where you're going to play off him like Stephen Curry?
Or the system. Or if the system works better for him than the one with the 76ers or the Pacers even.
No, for sure. And I think that's the thing where it's just like you almost want to discount who the Warriors are because age is going to catch up to you. You're not going to be able to do as much. You don't have as good of a defender on that team as you did with Klay Thompson when he was in his heyday. But it doesn't mean that this team is just completely dead. And I think me and you said this when we kind of did our which teams do we think got better? Which teams do we think got worse? I don't think the Warriors got worse. I think the Warriors just got different. And so to say that there's going to be this drastic amount of regression this season, I would agree with you that it's a little much for me.
Yeah, that one I just didn't get. They have the same over-under as the Lakers, 43.5. Also the same as the Rockets. It's like, okay. I don't know if all three of those teams should be on the same level.
The Rockets was my first team that I was like, maybe too high.
But they won 41 last year. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. And we'll see if they can do it again. I'm always intrigued by those teams. I was one of those teams.
The Clippers also 40.5. 3 less than the Lakers, the Warriors, and the Rockets.
Well, I mean, now you're basically just saying James Harden and Kawhi go out there and figure it out. That kind of makes a little more sense to me.
That one doesn't make sense. They're not on the same level. Yeah, so the Warriors to me, 43.5, too low. I take the over. 44, 45 wins?
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Your next one.
My next one, I am actually going to go with the Chicago Bulls. This is not a homer thing. This is more of a GM. No, this is more of a my GM isn't smart enough to win 27.5.
Can you tell everyone what hat you're wearing right now?
I am wearing a Windy City Bulls hat, which means I'm all about development. This is the G League team. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, a little Modest Bucilis action. Let me get a little Adama Sanago on that. No.
Bless you.
Yeah, excuse me. But no, phenomenal. I think that 27.5 would be the win total if the Bulls just gave up. And I don't think that they have it in them to actually do that. I think the Bulls will still be an above 30 win team this season. I actually would say of all of the FanDuel predictions on here, this is probably the easiest one to predict because the first half of the season is going to be all about building up people's draft stock, which means you can probably pencil in 20 to 22 wins there. Because they're going to be playing Zach LaVine a ton because they're trying to get rid of him. They're going to be playing
trade stock.
Yeah. I mean, trade stock. Yes, I said draft stock, trade stock. They're going to be playing Torrey Craig a ton. And when you put those veteran type of players out there with some youthful players, especially adding in a Josh Giddey who fits in really well with the play style of Zach LaVine, you're going to have a team that's going to win more games than expected. Now, when they move on from those players, will more winning ensue? Probably. But I still think that when that time comes, you'll still have a team that can eke out 10 more wins on the season.
You lose DeRozan, you lose Alex Caruso.
Yep.
Probably the 2 best players on the team.
Yep.
Who else did you lose?
Andre Drummond is backup center.
Drummond is gone. Who did you add? Giddey?
You added Giddey. You added Jalen
Lonzo Ball's
Smith.
Intentions.
Lonzo Ball, that turnaround jumper that is in a gym on a very regular person. You also went out and drafted Matas Buzelis and I mean, listen, there's going to be some reliance on the players who are already there. You still got Kobe White in place, who took a major jump last season.
You got Patrick Williams on the new deal. What's the starting 5 of the Bulls next year?
Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, Nikola Vucevic.
That doesn't scream 28, 29, 30 win team to me.
I mean, listen, the one thing about this Bulls team is they find a way to be just outside of the range to put you in a position to get the best draft pick.
Vooch misses like 25 games next year. How many of those do they win?
Vooch won't miss 25 games next year. Nikola Vucevic has been the pinnacle of health since he's been with the Chicago Bulls. He missed a little bit of time last season, but the most time I think we've seen Vooch miss has been since when he had COVID when he first got here. I think that's really the only time we've seen Vooch miss. Vooch won't miss, and he'll be 18-11 the whole time. The biggest question around the Bulls is going to be defense, but I've watched Billy Donovan take a team with Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, and DeMar DeRozan and have them top 10 in defense. So, like, I almost think that Billy can do anything he wants with defense on this team, but situational defense is a different question.
To go from 39 to 26 wins, like that would be the under there, 26.
Yeah,
that is a long way. That is a long way. DeRozan and Alex Caruso, did they make up that gap? That is tough. But coming up. What else is tough and what else is not? What else had a gap apparently was the matching of the matching of the contract between TNT, NBA, and Amazon. There is some big business drama over there, and we'll talk about it and get into it, whatever that means. On Count It Up, coming up.
Count it up.
Big chicken, baby.
Zion Williamson and porn star.
Take that for that. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up.
It's Count It Up, where we count out the most interesting, fun things in the NBA this week, including NBA. The National Basketball Association announced that they've renewed with Disney, ESPN, and ABC. And then they're also adding NBC and Amazon, who will broadcast games starting in 2025. They also include in their announcement that Warner Brothers Discovery, which is TNT, did not match the terms of Amazon Prime. My first question is, if this is all true, this all holds and all this, is...
Count it up.
Call your shot. Is this the last season we will see Ernie, Kenny, Chuck, and Shaq together on a desk covering the NBA? Because this, according to all this, would be the last time we'll see inside the NBA.
Yes, because I don't think that they all stay together. Like, I think that you could put a show together, and I think that Turner could put a show together that will be widely popular, that literally was just, we won't have the NBA games, but we will still put them on after the NBA to react to those games. I think people would still tune in for that, literally, but I don't think that Charles Barkley would want to be a part of that. I think Shaq and Ernie and Kenny might, but I think Barkley would say, listen, if I'm not here watching the games and like actually covering them and following
was
the team,
he doing that
I
before?
don't care. I mean, I think it's the only thing that was holding him to it was the fact that, like, hey, we're going to clown you because you have to watch this game tonight. I think that's the only thing.
There's no way we've seen the end of Inside. It's too good. It's too much of a big product. I followed them in the Western Conference playoffs. Like, they did the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
There's people that like gather around them like they are rock stars all over the place and get behind their set and the travel like to see them and all that. Like, it's just too big of a thing. It's too successful. This capitalist country could not stand to like lose an opportunity like that. The NBA can get all the money they want from Amazon and all that, but to lose out on the one interesting thing that happens before, in the middle, and after the games in TNT and inside the NBA is insane to me. That would be the end. There's going to be some iteration of this, and yeah, you're right. They'll probably lose one person or another, but they'll do some kind of, Frankenstein version. But
I think that's the thing. That's what you said. Will we see these four together again?
Correct.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that we'll see that again.
So the drama then comes up. TNT Sports issued a statement that said this at the beginning: "We have matched the Amazon offer, as we have a contractual right to do, and do not believe the NBA can reject it. In doing so, they are rejecting the many fans who continue to show their unwavering support." So you've got one side where the NBA is like, hey, they didn't actually match the offer. And TNT goes, hey, we actually did match the offer. My question is,
Count it up.
are you calling cap on the NBA or on TNT?
Calling cap on the NBA, because the NBA believes that which is right, that we need to get on more streaming services, because with those streaming services, where these companies are going. I don't know if you guys have Comcast where you're at, but Comcast has a bundle package with Disney Plus, Hulu, and Amazon Prime, maybe like one of the other ones.
ESPN Plus
ESPN Plus, yes, where you literally get that if you sign up for Comcast. They see where TV is going, and TV is not going towards TNT nearly as much. Even TNT's numbers on TV have gone more towards streaming numbers, and so they want to get away from regular TV. They want to put themselves in more streaming places. So I'm calling cap on the NBA because, of course, TNT is saying, no, we want people to still come to traditional TV. We want people coming to our network. How are people going to just wake up on Supernatural if they don't fall asleep on a West Coast NBA game? It's impossible.
What was the one? The Animal Kingdom. I have no idea what that show is. I think I've watched 12 episodes of Animal Kingdom, having no idea what it was.
Bro, you just wake up, just... What is this? What's happening here?
They surfing again?
Have you ever done this? Have you ever done this? Have you fallen asleep on the original game and woken up on the rerun of the game thinking you've only been asleep 10 minutes and you've been out for 4 hours?
Maybe not that bad. Maybe not that bad, but I have like looked up at the TV and been like, is this another game?
Bro,
didn't I just watch this?
Bro, legitimately, I fell asleep one time on it was Bulls Lakers West Coast. I fell asleep at the end of the second quarter. I woke up at the beginning of the third quarter, watched the rest of the game, and this is before I was on Locked On Bulls, so I didn't have a show to do or anything. Looked at my phone and was like, it's 3:00 in the morning. I thought I was out for 10 minutes. It was during the winter, so it's dark already. So you have no reference of time.
You know what's wild about that? He was streaming on Windy City Bulls during this game.
I was live when this happened.
You're like that. Have you seen that girl that says she makes $10,000 streaming while she's sleeping every night?
I'm gonna have to get in on that. The sleep streaming, not that sounded bad. That sounded wild. Hold on.
Boss.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Hold on. That was the wrong one. That's my that's for my that's for my
you can't,
my Northwestern Wildcat.
No, you can't. You cannot explain that away. You cannot explain the Jaguar sound.
That's for the Northwestern Wildcats. I play that every time I score over on Twitch.
No Wildcat, though.
I play that every time I score over on Twitch. Tap in on Twitch at PatTheDesigner Gaming.
Plug the Twitch. Plugging the Twitch account after that garbage. He said, I'm going to get in on that and play the Jaguars.
Oh no! That's for the Twitch, I swear.
Plug the Twitch again. I had more counted ups. I had more questions.
Come on, we got more time. We got 3 minutes.
Okay, all right.
We got the more time.
LeBron James was named Team USA's flag bearer for all of Team USA. Congrats to LeBron. He was also voted as the best Team USA player in Olympic training camp among players like Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Steph Curry. My question is,
Count it up.
Is he?
Is this all time?
Is he the best player on the Olympic training camp right now? The best current basketball player playing on the court?
I thought we were talking about yes. I think you see that. I think you
Durant,
see that.
Embiid, Tatum, Curry.
Yeah, and LeBron. Listen, I understand what's coming with Anthony Edwards and all of that, and how many good players, Jason Tatum, all of that. But there's no question when things get tough. Where's LeBron? Like that's call it Team LaMerica at this point. You know what I mean? Like that's where everybody's looking right now when things got tough. Stephen Curry got a play drawn up for him in the South Sudan game right before. Steve Kerr's like, we're going to you, my boy. Need a game tying 3. Hit the rim at least. You know what I mean? So, yeah, no, there's no question about it. LeBron James right now in these moments is the best player.
Because of the FIBA rules, he is the best player on the team. Joel Embiid should be the best player on the team. But the FIBA rules do not give Joel Embiid the advantage that he has in the NBA.
No.
That is the difference to me. And I don't know what Tatum's thing is. He should be the best player in the team.
People are touching him. That's a given. There's a lot of contact.
Play the Jaguars sound again.
There's a lot of contact in international play that just doesn't happen in the league. Well, we got 30 seconds. We got time for one more. Let's do it.
He won. He's successful, Carmelo Anthony said. The reason why we put Anthony Edwards above Jason Tatum is he had that aura. It's over. My question is, first of all, do you think Anthony Edwards is better than Jason Tatum? And second of all, is it fair to include aura in our rankings of players on how good they are?
I actually do think it's fair because when you look at a guy like Ant and players in the past, right, the aura oftentimes is what shook the opponent. When you think about Kobe Bryant, last minute of the game, and you got to try and slow down Kobe Bryant, like the defender is literally thinking he's going to be Kobe, isn't he? we're up 6 with 38 seconds left. We should win this game. He's gonna be Kobe, isn't he? Like that does play into it.
Or the DeRozan thing where DeRozan was recently on a podcast and they were like, hey, you wore Kobe's. Like, did you wear Kobe's playing against Kobe? And he had to like, oh my gosh, I have to think about if I'm wearing Kobe's playing Kobe, like that whole thing.
Yeah.
To me, it's not fair. To me, it's not fair at all to use this. Maybe if aura, like that doesn't include awareness, you know, like of the 2K attributes. Like, I don't think it includes that. It's just like how you appear on the court and how you appear, like how you do post-game interviews, all that kind of stuff. To me, I don't think that it matters.
No,
We've seen Kawhi Leonard, because Kawhi Leonard have an aura, and he was one of the best players in the NBA when he's healthy.
Yes, I think there are certain players where, to me, aura is not just your mannerisms. It's not just how you talk. It is something where this is what I give off in these specific moments. And I think we saw players that have been shaken by what I would call an aura, right? You knew if Michael Jordan was on the other side of you, oh boy, we're in trouble. He's about to go off. I think that's more of your aura than I give off this, you know, I want to kill everything that's in front of me. That's all I'm looking for, which is what Anthony Edwards said. To me, I think that when you think about the aura of these players, it's more of the vibe that they give off when players are going against them. And listen, Anthony Edwards gives off the aura of like, hey, this is not going to go your way. And more times than not this season, it didn't go his way. But you know who else has an aura that dominated? Luka Doncic. You know what I mean? Like aura versus aura. There was a bigger aura on the other side.
No. The Jaguar comes out again. There you go. That's all I got. Thanks for watching Locked On NBA. Thanks for listening to the show. Tomorrow with Adam Mares and Wes Goldberg, they'll have you covered with all kinds of Locked On NBA stuff.
Bye.
Peace out for maybe the last time.